What's up, everybody? Smooth Cosplayer here, your favorite salsa dancing cosplayer, bringing you a review of the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy. I meant to do this about this time last year after Siege came out, but your boy procrastinated like he usually does. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to wait until the whole series is out to do a review on it. So I actually just finished watching Kingdom. Like literally not even 10 minutes ago. So here we go with a full-on review of Siege, Earthrise, and Trilogy. Of course, pause for a moment for a spoiler alert, of course, because this will not be a spoiler-free review. So if you need to stop, watch any of them, and come back to this later, go ahead. Here's your exit out. All right, y'all, still here with me? All right, cool. So first, let me just give a few overall views of the whole thing. First of all, it was just visually stunning. Like, I loved the optics on all of this. So the art was not lacking at all. Like that blew me away. Let's see. I love that we got a chance to see a few bots that we don't really get to see, like who am I thinking of? Impactor, definitely. I grew up on Transformers the cartoon and the original toys. I'd never heard of Impactor. He's actually from the UK comics, and then he eventually showed up in the IDW comics. And yeah, to get to actually see him on screen was pretty awesome. To get to see more of Elita 1, that was great, because I think we only saw her in one episode in season 2 of the original cartoon. So to see her get some more screen time was great. Speaking of which, I love that pretty much all the female Autobots, all the female Transformers, period, got a lot more shine. Like, again, Chromia and Moonracer, they only showed up in the same episode that Elita 1 showed up in the original. Now, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't also get Firestar there, but yeah, just to see the ladies get a lot of shine there, I was a little disappointed that actually let me pause there. I'll come back to that in a second. But there's a death that I was a little disappointed about, but again, we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, a lot of lady power in this one. I feel like the female Transformers are very underrepresented up until later on in the IDW comics. So I'm glad that they got some screen time here as well. Let's see what else. I'm actually, this next one is a double-edged sword here. I'm glad that they weren't afraid to kill people off. Like, it just lets you know from the jump that this is real. Like, we ain't playing. People can get it. People can die in here. So I'm glad that happened. I did like that they did their best to stay true to G1 and Beast Wars. Those are just my favorite eras of Transformers. I'm G1 till I die, obviously. And Beast Wars had to grow on me. The toys came out, then the TV show came out. When the toys came out, I was like, heck no, because Optimus Prime was a bat, Megatron was an alligator, which wasn't too bad, but Optimus Prime being a bat, what the heck? So I was just like, nah, I'm not effing with it. But then when the show came out, the show won me over. So yeah, G1, Beast Wars, I'm all on board. They did a lot of good fan service to that. Like from the jump in the first episode of Siege, we get to see Wheeljack and Bumblebee riding out together, like mimicking the original pilot episode of the Transformers. Now, excuse me, let me start getting into a couple of overall dislikes before I just go down the line with all of the each series episode by episode. I won't quite go episode by episode, but I'm just going to go through things in order as I saw them. Um, some overall dislikes. Optimus Prime. I have a few people that I follow. Big shout out to the Ego Podcast. Everybody Gets One. They did a review of, I think, both the first and second series, Siege and Earthrise. I'm mentioning them because they said something about Optimus Prime that I totally agree with. I'm not going to repeat the exact words, but Optimus Prime is a certain B word that I don't like repeating. And I really, not so much in Kingdom. I feel like he was a little bit better in Kingdom, but I'll just say this ain't my Optimus Prime. My Optimus Prime didn't act the way he acted. Like, I really hated that Optimus Prime. First of all, I hate any time that Optimus Prime doesn't look to be on par physically and fighting, like as far as physical power and fighting style and strength. Like, I don't like anytime Megatron is head and shoulders above Optimus Prime. They were always fairly equal in the cartoon, fairly equal in the comics, but then we started getting into the Michael Bay movies, and in the first one, now maybe not so much in the second and third one, but in the first one, Optimus Prime was like just getting handled, getting thrashed by Megatron. And we see that again at the very beginning of Siege. Now, I had a friend who was trying to convince me that Optimus Prime was holding back in that first fight, but watching it about 3 times now, I'm like, yeah, nah. Now he might have had something there, because they seem to be a little bit more equal in their fights after that. So he might very well be right there. But just the way it looked in that first fight, like Optimus Prime trying to swing and then Megatron easily dodging out the way, like his reaction time was just that much faster, or Optimus Prime was just that much slower. Like, I just did not like seeing Optimus Prime with the Matrix not putting up any kind of good fight against Megatron. That just turned me off right off the bat. Another thing I didn't like about Optimus Prime and his leadership skills was that, like, everybody, even on his own team, was questioning his motives, questioning his decisions. And anytime somebody brought up any kind of concern, he would just brush it off. Sometimes he wouldn't even acknowledge it. Like Elita One or Ultra Magnus or someone would say something to him, and he'd just move on to his next sentence or give his next command as if nobody had said anything to him prior. It's like, dude, how are you just going to not acknowledge like your right-hand man, right-hand lady? Like, how you not even going to acknowledge what they just said? They're expressing a legit concern to you, and you just act like you didn't even hear it. Like, that's not good for morale, y'all. So yeah, I didn't like Optimus Prime's portrayal, really. There were times where, I forget, I have to look it up. I wish I would have stopped to look this up before I started this video, but I don't think Peter Cullen voiced him. I think somebody else did. And I'll correct that in the video here and just in post-production if I need to. But yeah, the voice sounded off, especially when he got angry in Earthrise and Kingdom. It just sounded like a completely different person. Like, I was like, is this the same voice actor? So yeah, didn't like Optimus Prime. I didn't like. Now, like I said, I did like that there were they weren't afraid to kill people, but I didn't like that certain people got killed. I mean, I get that when they're not afraid to kill people you like are going to die. So I get that. So I'm not mad at that. I was just disappointed that Ultra Magnus died very early on. That Moonracer died. Like, I'm not mad that she died. I'm mad that she died having so little screen time. Like, she barely showed up before her death. Like, all of a sudden you see her, and then the start of the very next episode, she's dead. Like, you could have let her get a little more, screen time, a little bit more lines. It's almost like they did a Walking Dead on her. Like, in The Walking Dead, like, you see a new character at the very beginning of a season, and you get used to the fact that they're just going to be zombie fodder. Like, they're going to die very quickly. Like, we need to kill somebody, and we don't want to kill a main character, so we're going to introduce this new character so we can kill them off in 5 minutes. That's pretty much what happened to Moonracer. Like, I didn't see her up until maybe earlier on in the episode. That okay, she appeared in one episode, it, like midway through it, and then she died at the beginning of the next one, and you pretty much knew she was about to die at the end of the end of the one she appeared in. So I just wish she would have had. I wish she didn't. I'm sorry. I wish she wasn't cannon fodder. Basically, actually, she was zombie fodder because she actually got ate by some Cybertronian zombies. Basically, so yeah, I just wish. Again, I'm not mad that she in particular died. I'm mad that she died so quickly after appearing. I mean, they killed off Skywarp. They killed off Impactor, but not till a little bit later on. Let's see what else. Who else has some early deaths? No, I think that's about it for the early deaths. I also didn't like how there wasn't as much transforming as you would think in this. Like, there are a lot of Transformers who we never saw their alt mode for. We never saw Elita 1 in her alt mode. We never saw Soundwave in his alt mode. We never saw Shockwave. Again, another backtracking to the deaths. Like, we got Skylynx in one episode, and he sacrificed himself so that way the Autobots could escape the dead universe. This is about 2/3 of the way through, like the 5th episode of Earthrise. And again, we see him for one episode, and we don't see him in his alt mode at all. But yeah, that was real disappointing not being able to see certain Transformers in their alt mode. Like, Astro Train, I'm talking about him a little bit later too, but we don't see him in any mode except for his robot mode. So it was just like, y'all really gonna make us buy the toys just to see their alt modes? Like, that was a letdown to me. Speaking of alt modes, and this is me being a little nitpicky here, so this isn't a huge deal. But we're starting on Cybertron, and the Transformers don't make it to Earth until the third series, Kingdom, and some of the Transformers already have Earth-like vehicle modes, and some of them don't. Like, all the Seekers keep their Cybertronian jet modes. But Optimus Prime, pretty much all the Autobots already have their Earth style alt modes. Now, really, the cartoon did this too. Like, they all had the same. Their robot modes look the same, but their Cybertronian vehicle modes look Cybertronian. So it was a little. I mean, of course, we're like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old back then. They count on us not paying attention to that. But I would have liked for there to have been a little bit of consistency there. Like, hey, we're either going to have everybody in Cybertronian vehicle modes, or we're going to have everybody in Earth style vehicle modes. Like, why are some Earth style and some not? Like, come on, Prowl. Like, there's certain ones you can make a case. Okay, that really is Cybertronian, but Prowl. Optimus Prime, like, they all look like they had been on Earth before. So I'm like, again, I'm being nitpicky with that one. I acknowledge that. So yeah, those are my main positives and gripes across the whole thing. Now let's start going down each particular series. Again, in the beginning of Siege, I like the fan service. Not giving a nod to the first episode of the Transformers with Bumblebee and Wheeljack, searching for Energon. But we get a glimpse of Bumblebee's changed personality. Like, this was a change. Like, they changed Bumblebee without making him not Bumblebee, if that makes sense. If you guys have seen any of my past videos, one of the changes that I don't like is when they take a character and change them so much that they're not that character. They're just that character in name and maybe appearance. But Bumblebee still kept his courage, his spunk, his what am I looking for? his function, like being a espionage, being a spy, being able to get in and out. Like he still kept that, but this Bumblebee got some edge, and I'm here for it. Like like Wheeljack, I ain't here for your BS. Optimus Prime, I ain't here for your BS either. Megatron, I ain't here for you. Like Bumblebee wasn't taking no crap for nobody. So I like that new, attitude that he had there. Again, the first Megatron and Optimus Prime fight, I wasn't with that. Jetfire, I like the new spin on his personality, plus his relationship with Starscream. If you guys don't know, from the original cartoon, before the war broke out, before it turned into Autobots versus Decepticons and factions, Starscream and Jetfire were friends. But this time around, like, Jetfire is the leader of the Seekers, and Starscream is trying to overthrow him. And dude, when Jetfire sliced off Starscream's arm for insubordination, I was like, whoa. okay, we ain't playing around here. But it was interesting seeing their back and forth, and seeing Jetfire's seeing him eventually turn and become an Autobot. So that was a little bit more in depth of a turnaround than what happened in the cartoon. I sensed a little bit of Dinobot and Jetfire, the whole, not liking Megatron's tactics. And he's like, dude, there's no honor in this. There's no honor in taking the Allspark and just committing genocide with the Autobots. Like, this ain't right. Like, so I felt a little bit of Beast Wars Dinobot and his personality there. Another thing I did like was, I forget, I never really read the Marvel comics of, the Marvel version of the Transformers comics, like the original comics. But when I started reading Dreamwave and IDW, it makes things not so black and white as far as who's good and who's bad with the Autobots and Decepticons. Like, I mean, yes, the Autobots are good, Decepticons are bad, but the reason why the Decepticons are bad is not so cut and dry. Like, the Decepticons were actually oppressed. They were, the whole, there's this hint of like, oh, a predetermined function, like on some old, like a caste system, like in Europe somewhere, or like old school Europe. So the Decepticons was like, look, we tired of being, born into just working in the mines, or born into fighting in the gladiatorial fields. Like, we tired of this. So you get a little bit more of a noble motivation from Megatron in the beginning anyway. So I like that, this whole, hey, you can sympathize with the bad guys a little bit. And even though you still root for the good guys, you kind of side out a little bit, like, y'all ain't saints either, But yeah, going back to I was talking about one, my gripes and my positives as well. Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus is my favorite Transformer. Like, my grandmother, she saved up. If y'all probably never meet my grandmother, but if you did, if you talk to her for longer than 5 minutes, she will eventually tell the story of how she saved up money to buy me Ultra Magnus for Christmas, as my first Transformer. But yeah, Ultra Magnus is my favorite. I hated that he died so quickly, and that we never saw his alt mode. So there's that. That's aside from Optimus Prime being a BITCH, like somebody else said. Like, I've really, again, visually, I loved Siege, but just there was a lot that I just was like about. Now, I will say this series actually got better as we went along. So as we got into, I gotta talk about the ending of Siege. I gotta stop and talk about Astro Train for a second. I feel like Astro Train was useless in this whole series. First of all, you see him just barely show up in Siege, and you see him like kind of drop out the sky and land, and then you see him slowly walking among some of the Decepticons, but he doesn't do anything. He's just there. Like, if you blink, you miss him. Actually, I missed him because I made the mistake with both Siege and Earthrise. I always watch him late at night, and I've fallen asleep on him, partially because some of the parts were fall asleep onable, but also because I'm always watching it late at night and tired. I will eventually lay down on the couch, and of course, that will eventually cause me to fall asleep. Anyway, it really is a blink and you'll miss him appearance for Astro Train. You barely see him in Kingdom. You maybe see him once. I'm sorry, no, in Earthrise. You barely see him in Earthrise, and then he gets beat up by Mirage in Kingdom, and he doesn't transform at all. So I'm like, why were you here? Like, I like Astro Train, but I need y'all to do something better with him. I need y'all to actually make use of him. No, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm not trying to get to the end of Siege just yet. A couple other things. Again, I've mentioned how I hate when they take a character and make them not that character. Hound and Ironhide. I feel like they swapped personalities. Hound acted like Ironhide, and he kind of there's a little nod to Hound kind of having some kind of relationship with Chromia. Like, it's not really, again, it's another blink you'll miss a thing. Hound kind of swoops in and saves Chromia from, I forget who was beating her up. Now, first of all, let me say, Chromia was not no damsel in distress. Like, Chromia was a badass for real. Like, all the ladies were sharpshooters pretty much, but Chromia in particular, like, she more than held her own. She's one of my favorites of the series. But in the G1 cartoon, that same episode I talked to y'all about, where the Lady Autobot showed up, I think Firestar and Inferno had a relationship, and Ironhide and Chromia had a relationship. Now, that's reflected with Hound and Chromia here. Hound comes in and saves Chromia, and they kind of give each other that little flirty look at the end of that. So I feel like, I'm mixing them up because they really got mixed up in this series. Hound had the personality of Ironhide, that gruff voice, that tough demeanor, and he had that unspoken relationship with Chromia. Meanwhile, Ironhide, when he finally shows up like 2/3 of the way through Siege, he's just like, not soft-spoken, but you just don't. Every time I look into a monitor, prime my surface sizzle. When are we gonna stop busting the Deceptor chops? Like, I'm expecting to hear that voice, and it's just a regular voice like this. I'm like, dude, that's not Ironhide, man. Like, his name says that about him, and that's not him. So I hated that they kind of swapped characters there. Speaking of Hound, another swap I didn't like was with Mirage. They gave Hound's special powers to Mirage. If you guys remember the G1 cartoon, Hound had the power to create holograms, make people see something that wasn't actually there. Mirage had the power of invisibility. They gave Mirage the hologram powers, and Hound didn't have anything but just Ironhide's personality. So I kind of didn't like how they flipped that. Like, there was no reason to flip that. I don't get it. So then we, I think we get Cliffjumper briefly in there. I was like, that you could have gave him a little bit more screen time there. There's a season 2 episode. I forget the name of it, but like, everybody, they came up across this canyon or whatever that had all these unstable crystals. I don't know if they were energon crystals or not, but I think Windcharger had to go down there and investigate it or something like that. But that scene where Optimus Prime, Moonracer, Hound, Prowl, and Jetfire had to go down there. They were looking for the Allspark. It really, I think that was a nod to that episode. Now, here's where Moonracer died. Like, she just got devoured by those Cybertronian zombies down there. And again, she was just zombie fodder. She had barely appeared earlier in the episode, and then all of a sudden she dead. Could have gave her a little bit more screen time. But yeah, I love the fact that we got an explanation for why the majority of the female Autobots, all the female Autobots except for RC, stayed behind. So we got to get an explanation as to why they stayed behind there. Now, the closing credit scene with the arc coming online, and there's this little signal like somebody's approaching them. I both correctly and incorrectly predicted what was going to happen. I didn't, I ain't posted no, post on social media, nothing. But in my head, I'm like, oh, this is a nod to them getting boarded by the Decepticons and then crash landing on Earth. It kind of did and kind of didn't happen. They did get boarded, but it wasn't by the Decepticons. It was by this mercenary faction led by Double Dealer. He had a couple of the Coneheads with him. I think Dirge and Ramjet was there. We don't get any sign of Thrust there. We got a clone of Bumblebee, a clone of Wheeljack on there. And they weren't clones. It really was like there was this big theme of like these, I'm trying to find the right way to describe it. Like basically a bunch of Transformers that were molded the same, kind of like how Prowl, Smokescreen, and Blue Streak are the same mold. All the Seekers are the same mold. All the Conehead Seekers are the same mold rather. Bumblebee and Cliffjumper, pretty much the same mold. Ironhide and Ratchet are the same mold. Who else? That's about it. But like, there's a whole lot of that going on with this whole series, and it makes it. I guess it makes cannon fodder easy too, because I was just like, is Cog really just there to get to be blown up? Really, like he's just there to die. But yeah, so they do get boarded, but it's by the mercenary faction. They get taken to Char. I like how they gave that. That was a nod to season 3 of Transformers, and then we meet Quintessons. Now, I don't know if I just did pick up on it in the original cartoon, but in the original cartoon, the Quintessons, they all had 5 faces, and each face had a different voice. But I don't remember them having different personalities. And I do love how Earthrise kind of fleshed that out. Like each face had a different personality, a different demeanor, and a different voice. And that whole consensus, that was kind of creepy. How like that one face of that Quintesson like cut off the other faces. He's like, look, this is how we come to a consensus. I'm just kill my other personalities. So it's just me. So that was pretty dope, but also pretty unnerving. So there's that. Another thing with Double Dealer, like Double Dealer is a triple changer, and we don't get to see any of his other modes. Again, that was a big gripe of mine, not being able to see the other modes of some of these Transformers. I do like how Elita One's crew, it was her, Chromia, Red Alert, who I was glad Red Alert did not have his G1 cartoon personality. Like he was so skittish and paranoid and all of that, but he still fit his medic role, but he was a lot more formidable. Like I love that scene where like he was like dashing towards this in car mode, he was jetting towards his door. He pulled like he swerved and like shot some grenades out of his back and sped off. Like that was pretty dope. But yeah, how Elita One's crew, Jetfire was with them too. How they were like doing guerrilla warfare, rescuing like Decepticon and Autobot prisoners alike. We find out the Decepticons have been like Megatron is harvesting sparks, his own people, just the power of the Nemesis. So that was pretty gruesome there. It was funny how he's actually talking to Ultra Magnus's head, like almost like some governor from the from the Walking Dead season 3, like just keeping that head there. He even said to him at one point, "Don't look at me like that," or "Don't give me that look." So that was creepy but hilarious at the same time. But yeah, a big shout out to Elita One. Elita One was a whole lot better of a leader than Optimus Prime was. Remember that whole thing I told y'all about with Optimus Prime, like just ignoring the concerns of his trusted people? Like she listened to Jetfire and actually gave him a good response. Like that's how you keep morale up. That's how you win the trust of people. And that's the Decepticons that they saved, they all rallied with her because she had that leadership skill. So I was glad to see her, do better than her man Optimus Prime. Let's see what else. That whole space bridge thing where they there was that ship that was halfway through the space bridge and they met up with Scorponok there. I like seeing Scorponok, but I felt like his appearance, I felt like he was just thrown in there. Like you hear him mumble about, just going off about what happened to his world. That's all the background you get. You don't really get an explanation for why he's there, what happened to him. Like we assume he just blew up with the with that ship. Like, I don't think they actually defeated him other than that. Um, but yeah, well, no, I think Optimus Prime did it because he threw that grenade and shot it right in front of Scorponok's face. I forget if that actually killed him or if he just died in that ship explosion. But I love seeing him. I love seeing them fight him off. But I hated like the fact that they don't explain his appearance at all after that. Like, he's just there. We're left to assume so much about why he's there, and that's it. Oh, and they killed me with the whole, they've been shooting at him the whole time. Then all of a sudden, Bumblebee accidentally hits him in the head. And for the head, that's it. Nobody thought to shoot at his head the whole time. Like that, come on now. Like, if y'all gonna have a weak spot that gets revealed, let it be something other than hit him in the head. Like, that was just weak writing to me. So we got that. Now, then we get into all the trippy parts where Megatron gets the golden disc from Galvatron, because Galvatron is visiting him from the future. Optimus Prime meets Skylynx, and again, I'm upset that Skylynx didn't get to transform at all, and he sacrificed himself and died in the same episode that he appeared in. Then we get the whole thing where they finally get to Earth. Double Dealer shows up again, but he's a puppet of the Quintessons at this point. All that craziness. So that's what led them to actually crash land on Earth. I hated that Elita 1 and her crew died at the end of that. Like, we assume they died because, like, you look at the explosion they got caught up in, and it's like, I don't see them surviving that, but you kind of hold out hope because you don't see a body. But, you know, we get revealed in Kingdom how you see them. Once you see her show up in a vision of Optimus Prime's, like, okay, we're like, okay, yeah, they did. Now, going into Kingdom, when I saw the trailer for Kingdom, that was the only trailer of these three. Now, all the trailers, I was like, oh snap, this looks great. Excuse me, but Kingdom was the only one where I looked at it, and not only did I think it looked visually great, but I also looked like it's about to get real. Like, that was the only trailer that made me think, ooh, I want to see what happens. This is like, it's going to be some good action. And I really can't put my finger on why, but Kingdom just hit different for me. Like, I watched it all the way through in one sitting. Like I said, like not even a couple of, I started this video, when I started this video, it was like only 10 minutes removed from having finished it. But yeah, it just hit different, like, and it had me glued to the screen, and not just because I wanted to get through it and do this video. Like, I really was like, what's finna happen? What's going on? It had me from the jump. Now, I will say some of the voices had to grow on me, like Rat Trap's voice had to grow on me. I feel like they gave Dinobot's old voice to Tigatron. Like, I'm expecting some old, not old, but just a more wise, deeper voiced Tigatron, but he sounded like Dinobot. Speaking of the voice acting, I mentioned Optimus Prime's voice, me not liking him, but there is just too many weird pauses in their voices. Like, Elita 1, I need you to do this for me. Like just those weird pauses. I'm like, it didn't flow right to me. I love seeing all the Maximals again, all the Predacons. Like, they gave it. I love that Megatron mentions, yo, the Maximals have decimated my ranks. So it's like, we don't get Pterosaur, we don't get Tarantulas, we don't get Waspinator. We got a bunch of Scorponok clones, and Megatron, Dinobot, and Black Arachnia. There was just so many awesome moments though in Kingdom, like seeing the Autobots fight each other in the beginning. I'm sorry, the Autobots and the Maximals fight each other. Seeing Rhinox square off against Hound, like doing the little head button and trying to push each other back, which is another reason why I'm mad that Hound took over like Ironhide's personality. Like, I really feel like in Beast Wars, Rhinox was a mix of Ironhide and Ratchet, with maybe a little bit of Wheeljack thrown in there, but his inventions never backfire like Wheeljack's did. So that's another reason why I'm mad that Hound had Ironhide's personality, because that really should have been Ironhide and Rhinox button heads. I love, Airazor doing her thing, getting captured on purpose, just, gaining information. Like, she was still a badass. Airazor, like Airazor was Iron Man, basically. Like, if y'all notice, like, she had the repulsor blasters in her in her palms. Every time she flew, she kind of had if you look at Iron Man 1, anytime Iron Man flew, he kind of had his palms like that, like giving him propulsion. That's pretty much Airazor when she's in robot mode. So many moments where, like, let's see, we got towards the end of it, we got Cheetor and Tigertron facing off against Ravage. We got anytime I saw Megatron and Megatron together, anytime I saw Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal together, that was pretty awesome. We see Beast Wars, Megatron and original Megatron sitting across from each other in their thrones, and their right hand men sitting next to each other. Sitting next to them. You got G1 Megatron with Starscream on his side, Beast Wars Megatron with Dinobot on his side. Side note, I love Dinobot's new voice. It was a little weird not hearing him sound like this, but I do like the voice actor that he had. But yeah, so Megatron says to Starscream, "Leave us." And so they leave. So it's Starscream and Dinobot walking down the corridor together. I'm like, oh snap, this is going to be interesting, because Dinobot and Beast Wars gives off a little bit of Starscream vibes, because he's trying to overthrow Megatron. But then you also see that pretty much all of the Predacons, except for maybe Waspinator and, okay, maybe not all, like both Tarantulas and Pterosaur be trying to overthrow Megatron, and Black Arachnia. So really, the majority of the Predacons had some Starscream in them, but Dinobot in particular. So it was interesting and pretty dope to see Starscream and Dinobot walking down the corridor together. Then of course, Starscream and Black Arachnia start scheming together. That's also a nod to season 1 of Beast Wars, where Starscream's ghost comes and possesses Waspinator, and he's trying to scheme with Black Arachnia. I loved Dinobot here. It was a love-hate thing for me, because they kind of put his story arc from Beast Wars. They crammed of course he died at the end of season 2, but they crammed his story in season 1 and season 2 all into like 3 episodes of Kingdom, which I'm glad to see it. But I was like, dang, we just got all of that crammed in together. Like, I don't get the impression that he ever met Optimus Prime, like G1 Optimus Prime, and then he gave the Matrix back to him after he recovered it from Megatron. I was just like, that would have been that much more powerful had he and Optimus Prime interacted prior to that. And he gave Megatron, G1 Megatron, all he could handle. Like, he was giving him the business. But of course, he only lost because Beast Wars Megatron stepped in, bit his arm off, and even then, he still put up a good fight. I'm mad that he went out like a punk against Starscream, though. But Starscream picked him up by the throat and dropped him off a ledge. And I'm like, dude, that was a perfect time for you to do your Optic Blast on him, and you didn't. Like, well, I guess he figured that would have dropped him anyway. But he could have shot him before he got to the ledge, though, because he picked him up and then walked him to the ledge. So I'm like, you could have Optic Blasted him before that. So the fact that he was able to beat G1 Megatron, he shouldn't have gotten punked by Starscream. Like, that didn't sit well with me. But I still do love. I did love seeing Dinobot. He was my favorite Beast Wars character. Let's see what else. Seeing the arc transform into like this big, huge. I don't think he would have been as big as Metroplex. Rivals that size, but not quite. But still pretty awesome to see it transform and like just dragon punch the Nemesis. That was pretty dope. Let me see what else in Kingdom. But yeah, Kingdom was just awesome. Like, it was weird though, because we got to episode 5 and they're get ready to fly back to Cybertron. And I'm like, wait, did they only give us 5 episodes, or are we getting 6? Because if we're getting 6, something finna go down. Because there's no way that we're acting like we won, but we still got 1 episode left. And that's when everything kind of came to pieces on Cybertron, and then Galvatron shows back up, Nemesis Prime shows up. It was pretty dope seeing Megatron, Galvatron, and Nemesis Prime on screen at the same time. That was pretty dope. But yeah, overall the series got better over time. Kingdom was my favorite of the 3. Like I said, visually stunning, visually amazing, a lot of good G1 callbacks. Had a few gripes here and there, but overall, like if they kept the same energy, if the other 2 had the same energy of Kingdom, I would have been a whole lot more excited about it. But Kingdom was definitely good. I was a little disappointed at hearing now Sideswipe is my favorite car, and to hear him just mention Sunstreaker, but not to see him have a vision of him like everybody else did towards the end, like towards the middle of Kingdom. The Allspark was making people have all these different visions and hallucinations. Like you see Starscream having a vision of him holding the crown that he had in Transformers the movie. Optimus Prime saw Alphatron and Alita 1, all that good stuff. So Sideswipe, we got a Kingdom toy of Sunstreaker, but we just hear Sideswipe say Sunstreaker and that's it. I'm like, don't make that a throwaway thing. I need to see him on screen at least once. But yeah, that's it. That's my just recap review of Kingdom and the whole series, Siege, Earthrise, and Kingdom. Earthrise threw me off because maybe I'm thinking too much about the title, but I'm like, how you gonna call it Earthrise and we only see Earth at the very end? I don't know. Anyway, I don't even know what I want to grade this, but those are just my thoughts on that whole series. I am intrigued to see what comes next, because the end, it definitely did set up Unicron to be like the next villain, the next big thing in the series. So I'm interested in seeing what, if we get another trilogy, or if we just get one more season or whatever. I'm interested in seeing what happens with that. I would love to see them. I would love to see them bring in some more of the season 2 and season 3 G1 characters. Like if we got Unicron and Galvatron, we gotta get like Cyclona, Scourge, Springer, Hot Rod, Cup, Blaster. We need some more triple changers. Like we didn't get to see Astral Train transform. We didn't get to see Double Dealer transform. I need Springer. I need Blitzwing. I need Sandstorm, Broadside, Octane even. Like we need all of them, I would love to see some more female Decepticons. There's not really that many out there, I don't think. Slipstream was one of them. It would be nice to see her. It would have been nice to see a couple more of the Beast Wars characters, like Quick Strike, Inferno. Let's see what else would I want to see come up next. We need some combiners. Like we didn't get any combiners in this. So Devastator, Superion, Defensor, Menasor, Bruticus, Predaking. We need to get all of that. Who else? No Dinobots at all. So I really would love to see all of them in the next one. Because like if Unicron is the next big villain, this is just the G1 fan in me. I don't want to hate on Transformers Armada, Robots in Disguise, Transformers Energon, but like I really hope we don't skip all the way ahead to because there was a Unicron series or trilogy in that era of Transformers. I really would hate for them to skip over the rest of G1 that we haven't hit yet and go straight to that. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. I just wouldn't like it, but that's just me being the G1 purist that I am. So anyway, that's it, y'all. Y'all have a good night. Y'all have a good time at whatever con you're going to next. Have a good night enjoying whatever series is you're binging right now. Good luck on your cosplay builds. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share button. Leave me some comments, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace. To all are one.